Basketball Coaches Teleconference. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. If you would like to ask a question during the conference, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. To withdraw your question, press the pound key. I will now turn the call over to Kelly Briscoe. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I know everybody's on a tight schedule this week. So first on the line should be head coach of the Drake Bulldogs, Ginny Baranchek. Ginny, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you? Sorry, my voice is gone, but I'll do the best I can.
It's okay. You've been yelling too much?
I wish that was the case.
Well, congrats on a great regular season so far. Seen your team play a couple times. They're really fun to watch. You guys have a very fast-paced brand of basketball. I'm looking forward to seeing you this week. Kind of talk about going into the tournament, not knowing for sure who you're going to play until the night before. Does that affect your preparation at all? Kind of talk about what you're going to do this week to prepare for 2 possible opponents.
I think the biggest thing for us is that we've got to get through some midterms and then make sure that we are playing our best basketball. We've had some great moments this season, I really think, and I think we've had some moments where we've got to get better. But, for a couple of days here, we've got to really focus on us. And then you're right, we have to focus on 2 very good possible opponents in the next round.
Thanks, Coach. At this time, I'll go ahead and open it up for questions for you.
Your first question comes from the line of Andrew Lowe with the Des Moines Register.
Hey, Coach. I'll try not to tax your voice too much here, but wanted to ask you, how much going into a tournament do you think about depth within your team and trying to maximize it, but at the same time, 1 loss and you're done? What kind of role do you think depth will play?
That's a great question, Andrew. I think that's key. It really is, because especially if you're trying to play so many games in a short period of time, the more people that you can have to step up and be able to get some minutes, the better off you're going to be. For us, I'm really looking forward to seeing, everyone on our team step up. I like, depth isn't just how many people you have on your bench, but it's also how many possible scores you can have, how many people can get defensive stops, how many people can get rebounds. So the more people that you have that can do all those things, the more success you're going to have.
Cool. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Jill Hutchinson with the Valley TV.
Hey, Jenny. I'm wondering how your losses the weekend against Wichita and Missouri State affected your kids' confidence level going into the tournament.
I think that's a really good question. I think we're still figuring that out, to be honest. I think we're a young team. I think that, the first loss obviously affected us a little bit more. Now, make no mistake, Missouri State played great, Wichita played great, so we also know that too. But it's something that I think it also makes us hungry to get better. And I think this week, we had a really nice week of practice. Had to really gut out a couple wins at home this weekend. And now we get to see, because we have, a lot of our, I know I was just asked about depth, and in that last question, a lot of our depth has never been to the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. So that's, in itself, it's going to be a battle more so than even what happened at the end of the season.
And my other question is, for your team this weekend, can you identify 2 key things that you think they need to do to be able to be successful?
Yeah, I think the 2 biggest things are probably what we've had all year, and that's, 1, we've got to be able to rebound the basketball. You have to. We've got to be really gutsy and be able to get on the floor and win those 50-50 balls, and I count that as part of rebounding. And then I think the second part is we've got to have multiple people willing to make some shots. And I know that sounds kind of cliche and obvious, but we can't just put it on 1 person. We can't put it on 2 people. What has been the most successful for us is when we have multiple people who can step up and score, whatever that looks like. And the more people that we can have, the better off we've got a shot.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. Good luck this weekend. Hope you feel better.
Thanks, Jill.
Jenny, it looks like that's all the questions for you. Best of luck practice today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, next on the line, we should have head coach Kelly Harper of Missouri State. Kelly, good morning. How are you?
Thank you.
Kelly, you're heading into the tournament, winners of 8 straight games, playing really great basketball. I'm looking at your scores, and I think in the last 8 games you only had 1 game that was a single-digit win. Was there something in particular that happened that kind of clicked for your team, or when did you think that your team really started playing well together, and what has been the difference so far, do you think?
Well, for us, obviously early on, we had injuries that kept some of our top players on the bench, and our team believed in everything that our coaching staff was telling them. And when we got our players back, which I think we got our last player back somewhere in the middle of January, we really saw steady improvements. We were getting better every single week. And our coaching staff could see it, our players could see it. And I think it's just been that steady improvement. Then when you start winning some games, winning can be contagious. And, our players started getting some momentum and had a lot of confidence going down the stretch.
Thanks, Kelly. At this time, I'll go ahead and open up for questions for you.
Please press star, then the number 1 if you would like to ask a question. Star, then the number 1. Your first question comes from Jill Hutchinson with the Valley TV.
Hey, Kelly, I'm going to play off of some questions to Jenny there a little bit. First of all, it appears to me that you do have some depth right now that everybody's back, and do you perceive that you have more balance and more kids contributing?
Yes, we do. And part of that is, we've played a lot of kids all season. And when we had some injuries, young kids had to step up and play big minutes. So, we feel very good about going down on our bench and finding somebody to come in and be productive. We're getting production from somebody different every single night, and you never know when you're going to have to step up as a player. So right now I think we have a lot of different people that not only the staff feels confident with, but their teammates feel confident with.
Great. And again, what do you think your keys are for your team to be successful this weekend?
I think for us, it's keeping it simple. Our game plans have been very similar game in and game out, and that's to really focus in on our defense, make that the priority, rebound the ball well, and get the ball to paint. I think those things are going to be keys for us every single game, no matter who our opponent is.
All right, great. Good luck this weekend, Kelly.
Thank you so much.
Kelly, I think that's all the questions for you today. Travel safe, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. All right, next on the line, I believe Coach Michael Brooks has gone ahead and dialed in. Michael, are you there?
Thank you.
Yeah? Do I hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's kind of cutting out, but maybe that's on my end. Thanks for joining the call. You guys are up against Loyola on Thursday night. That's a team you beat twice this season. You know the cliche, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. What are you guys planning on working on in practice so far this week to go ahead and get a 3rd win against them?
Definitely. I don't think it's any secret what you have to do against Loyola to be able to win. Luckily for us, we didn't have to play against Taylor Manuel the second time. She was out with an injury. So for us, we've got to be able to stop their inside game between Manuel and Law. I mean, they're so good inside, and now that they've gotten their pieces back together, they're playing at a much outstanding clip. So for us to be successful, we've got to stop the interior game. We've got to force them to take some outside shots where they haven't been as successful, but now with Taylor Johnson playing better and attacking the hoop the way that she has been and being a prowess on defense, they're really rounding into one of the top teams in the league and showing what they can do day in and day out, as you can see from this last weekend that they had where they really went out and played some really great basketball. So it's gonna take a considered effort on our part on the defensive end, and we've got to be able to hit shots, whether they play man or zone, we've got to be able to step up and hit big shots at the right time.
Thanks, Michael. At this time, I'll open up for questions for you.
Please press star, then the number 1 if you would like to ask a question. That's star, then the number 1. Your first question comes from Jill Hutchinson with the Valley TV.
Morning, Michael. It seems to me that getting Whitney into your lineup has made a significant difference for you as much as Manuel and Law have made a difference for Loyola. Could you talk about that a little?
Yeah, definitely. Whitney is a tremendous player. She's probably made the biggest impact on our team offensively. She's able to stretch the defense and shoot the ball deep from three. Although she hasn't shot well, we've been playing better basketball when she's in the lineup. But we can post her up. She can get the ball and push it in transition. She's definitely an offensive threat and offensive weapon. Where we've been encouraged even more by her is the fact that her rebounding has steadily gotten better. She's becoming more physical, more thoughtful about her job in that realm from the defensive rebounding and offensive rebounding. I think people have to realize that she's still a sophomore, for us. So she's got a lot of growth to do on the defensive end, but definitely her offensive ability and her immediate impact that she's made has made us definitely better on the offensive end.
And how does she complement Michelle?
I don't know if she's the one that compliments Michelle so much as some of our other players that we've been able to put around our team. The resurgence of Danny Brewer here towards the end of the season, being a freshman, Tamia Sims has probably been, if not as much of a part of our positivity as Whitney has been. And I think Tamia complements Michelle very well in our defensive scheme and being able to pressure defenses, being able to pressure offenses, being able to switch 1 through 5, being able to kind of, throw different people's rhythm off by having another, I would say, defensive-minded presence. Whitney has been playing her best basketball off the bench for us as of late, so she really hasn't been in our starting lineup. So to have, really Danny as a freshman, Tamia as a freshman, and then Letty Lerma, who made all-freshman team last year, has really stepped up and playing some big minutes lately, rebounding the ball, attacking the glass. So I think there's a plethora of kids that have been able to balance out Michelle and add into to what Michelle has started, and I just don't think it's Whitney. I think it's a couple other young kids as well who have made a very big impact in our team lately.
Great, thanks, Michael. Good luck this week.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, thank you.
Your next question comes from Taylor Eldridge with the Wichita Eagle.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. I just had one question for you real quick. And obviously, Wichita State, they won the last 2 tournaments, number 1 seed again this year. So I was just curious, what do you feel like makes them such a tough matchup when it gets to tournament time like this in March? What makes them so tough?
I can just tell you what makes them tough. It don't matter if it's tournament time, TV dinner time, or sleep time. They're just tough. What Jody has been able to establish there, the culture that they've been able to usher in from China Turner, some of those young ladies up until now. There's been no doubt about the progress and the way that this was going to go. Alex is kind of that second wave of understanding of what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, where it needs to be, and you can see her. I had the I'll give you the simple fact. I came early to our shoot around and to our practice the day of our game, and there was one player on the court. There was Alex Harden out with one of the young sophomores on their team, and there was no doubt that she was setting the example for how things are going to be done and how things will be done at Wichita State. Jody has done an amazing job at getting her kids to believe that. They believe in her wholeheartedly. The approach of the staff, the hard work, the defensive-minded approach, the rise and roll offense, the get out, we're going to come at you. Sometimes we're going to act like we're coming at you at others, but they know what they're doing. They believe in it. They trust in one another, and they've created a great family. So no matter what time, if it's senior night, if it's pink night, if it's Saturday around the corner, you're going to get a tough game anytime that you strap on your shoes against them.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Coach, I think that was your last question. Safe travels. Hopefully all is going well for you, and hope to see you soon.
Yep, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Next on the line, we should have head coach Cheryl Swoops of Loyola. Cheryl, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, great. How are you?
Doing well. Michael actually kind of touched on this a little bit with the question. Talk a little bit about Taylor Manuel and what kind of an impact she's made on your team especially in the conference race?
Well, I think we all knew all along that once we were able to get Taylor on the floor, that she was going to be able to do some great things for us. I will also say there's so much more work that she has to do to be, excuse me, the type of player that we all believe she can be. We've tried to put her in positions where she's more of a leader for this team, and I do think people tend to forget, because I forget sometimes that she's very young, and, she's only a sophomore with a lot of room to grow. Taylor comes to work every day. She wants to get better. She wants to compete. She's a great teammate. She understands the game. So we're able to do quite a few different things with her. I don't think it's any secret that in order for us to be successful, we've got to be able to put the ball in her hands. She's got to be able to touch the ball. Doesn't mean she's going to shoot it or she's going to score every time, but she demands so much attention, sometimes a double team, sometimes a triple team, and, we've said to the rest of our players that everybody else has just got to be ready to score. They got to be ready to shoot the ball when Taylor touches it, because she's going to make something happen. She's going to score, she's going to draw a foul, or she's going to find the wide open player, and, she's definitely been an asset for us. She's been a great player for us so far, and, I'm just looking forward to a couple more years with her.
Thanks, Cheryl. At this time, I'll open it up for questions for you.
If you'd like to ask a question, star then the number 1. Your first question comes from Andrew Lowe with the Des Moines Register.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, when you mentioned having young players, do you kind of use the motivation of, hey, you can go all this way, 3 wins, 4 wins in an NCAA tournament, or do you kind of try to low-key it and let young players adapt to the situation?
No, I think for us, because we do have, we have 5 freshmen on this team, and then Taylor Manuel, who's young, Taylor Johnson, who's young. We really try to focus on the moment, take it one day at a time, and right now our focus is Bradley. I think someone said it earlier, they've beaten us twice this season, and we know it's not going to be easy. So our focus right now is what we've got to do offensively and defensively to prepare for Bradley and not look past them. The Valley's a tough conference. You can't overlook any opponent on any given night. Anybody can beat anybody. And, when you have such young players, it's easy for them to feel the pressure. And, for me as a coach and with our coaching staff, we really try to not put as much pressure on this team and say, it's one game at a time. We got to focus on Bradley, and, hopefully we can come out on Thursday and have a good game.
Well, thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Your next question comes from Jill Hutchinson for the Valley TV.
To beat Bradley after having lost to them twice.
Sorry. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
I did not hear the beginning of your question.
Okay. I'm curious, since you have lost to Bradley a couple times, what are your keys to beating them this time? What's going to make a difference to be able to come in there and get a W?
Bradley's I don't look at their record and say they're not a very good team. I hope people don't look at our record and say the same thing. I know the talent that they have, the players that they have, they're playing much better today than they were, the first half of conference, just like every other team. I would like to hope that, now we will, knock on wood, have our entire team. Both times we've played them, we didn't have our full roster. Hopefully we can come out Thursday, we'll have our entire team, our full roster, and we'll be able to go out and execute the things that we've been working on. I thought this past weekend, even though we didn't win at UNI and at Drake, I thought it did a lot for our players' confidence. Those are 2 of the better teams in our league, and for us to be able to play with them and lose by only 4 on the road, I thought it did a lot for our players' confidence. And Michael said it on the phone. Our strength is our inside game with Taylor, with Simone, Law. We've got to find a way to put the ball in their hands. But we also have to have other players that are ready to play, that are ready to step up, that are ready to make big shots. And for us, it's just been consistency. We haven't been able to play consistent the entire season, regardless of who we had on the floor, who we didn't have on the floor. And if we can, be consistent in our efforts on the offensive end and defensive end and play together, not just sit there and allow or wait on two players, one or two people to win the game for us. I think we have a pretty good shot at winning on Thursday.
Okay, and just to build on that a little bit, after last weekend, I mean, your scores were impressive. Do you feel like your kids are peaking at the right time here?
I mean, you'd like to think so. You know, I think every player on this team has believed since day one that we had an opportunity to be a pretty good team this year. And unfortunately, like every other team in the league, you know, we've had to deal with injuries. And it just happened to be my three best players. You know, I think what we were able to do at UNI again and at Drake, and to take them to overtime on their home court, and, you know, unfortunately we didn't pull out the win. But, you know, I think those two games alone showed our players just how good we can be when we decide to play together. You know, but at the same time, I understand what Bradley's strengths are. I understand, you know, what we've got to do to limit them. You know, Sims gave us fits the last time we played, and we actually had to double team her. You know, she's a phenomenal talent. We can't just go into the game saying, well, we have Manuel back, we have Law back, and think it's going to be easy. You know, I know that they're probably game planning to stop our inside game, because that is our strength. But, you know, if we can come out and just focus on the things that we did well this past weekend, I think we'll put ourselves in a pretty good position.
Great. Good luck this weekend, Cheryl.
Thank you, Jill.
Cheryl, I think that's all the questions for you today. Safe travels, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Next on the line, we should have head coach Jody Adams of Wichita State. Jody, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing good. First of all, congratulations on your regular season championship. Another great season. Just seems like you keep building year after year, one step better. Same thing I kind of asked Jenny. What's the challenge in not knowing your opponent until, you know, fairly late Thursday night? How does that change your preparation, if at all?
It doesn't. You know, my focus is on our team and this team being rested and ready to go in, and, you know, taking it one game at a time, and being, you know, just being ready for anything and everything. You know, I think it's more about our mindsets, our minds being healthy, and again, we're really just focused on us. I mean, the teams, everybody has gotten better at this point, sure, but really, the grand scheme of things, our philosophy is what we go with, and we either, you know, win with it or lose with it. So our focus is us at this point, so we just don't really get caught up in the unknown. We prepare for everything at this point in time, and that's what we've been doing this week, besides just resting mentally.
Thanks, Jody. At this time, I'll open it up for questions for you.
Please press star, then the number 1. Your first question comes from Jill Hutchinson with the Valley TV.
Morning, Jody. A couple of questions. I'm sure everybody's wondering if you can get through 3 games in 3 days with as few kids as you are really playing a lot.
Jill, at this point, I mean, I think you look at this past weekend, you know, we were in foul trouble, you know, there was all kinds of scenarios this weekend, and, you know, just somebody else stepped up. Brittany Martin stepped up off the bench. You saw the same thing from Jaleesa Chaplin. Those are the two that have really stepped up and begin to, their minutes are very effective minutes. And, you know, Chapel being there, you know, she's a 15, she can be a 20-minute player. Brittany is developing into where she can probably get 10 to 12 in. And the way we play and the way our veterans have played, they're mentally, they're prepared for that. And actually, they expect that at this point. They're not looking for someone else off the bench to come and help them beyond, you know, Chapel and Martin. So, you know, I think it's become us. And I know in the past there has been, you know, teams that play their best players, you know, 30-something minutes. And you're just put in a situation where, you know, I believe this team has a mindset, and that mindset is relentless. And you just see them just flipping that switch, and that's a mature player, that's a veteran player, and that has been built. That mindset has been built not just by they're here for 4 years. It's been built by the alum. It's been built for 7 years. So is alum coming back and talking to these players that are seniors now, and what's expected of them, because they've all played. All your great players play major minutes, and just so our 3 seniors are great players for us and productive players.
Great answer. Thanks, Jody. Good luck.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jill.
Your next question comes from Taylor Eldridge with the Wichita Eagles.
Hey, Taylor.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
Going good. Enjoying the sunshine.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, just a few questions. Just the experience this time of year. The core, they've been here. They've won this tournament before. How valuable do you think that is going into this week?
I think it's extremely valuable. They know what to expect. This whole team knows what to expect, except, really 2 players as far as, the tournament. All of our players have experienced back-to-back games because of what we do in the non-conference season and putting our players in our program in situations where we have to prepare, for back-to-back games. So, they understand the walkthroughs. They understand not going to shoot around the morning early game, but going into a ballroom with tape on the floor and mentally getting prepared. It's not like I'm teaching, first-year players this, and how to win back-to-back games. We've been through it, and I'm fortunate enough to have seniors that have been through it, 3 times as far as tournament play. But if you really look over the years, they've probably been doing it, they've done it 6 times. This may be being their 6th. So we know what to expect. It's just us being ready and keeping our minds focused on their vision and their plans for this year. And that's what you do. You ask your players what they want to do as a coach when you have such a heavy loaded group of seniors and upperclassmen. And my job and coaching staff's job and everybody else is to hold everybody accountable. And that's all we're doing is holding them accountable and going in with the game plan of how we're going to win and playing within our philosophy.
Yeah, and the whole season comes down to these 3 days. Do you feel like now that it's here, can you just kind of sense the difference? Amongst this team, are they just more locked in, more focused, or what have you seen from them leading up to this tournament?
It's just this weekend they didn't have to do what they did, but it was just the line was going to be drawn in the sand. We're not losing. And it's just amazing as a coach to sit there and watch those kids draw the line in the sand. And especially, my upperclassmen, with Dappridge, she put the team on her back at Indiana State first half. And, just watching players do the job. Allie Becker came out the second half and was rebounding the ball. We needed, someone to step up and, board the ball. And they just draw the line in the sand. I don't know how other way to say it. It's a mindset. It's something, that's grown for a long period of time, and you just make up your mind on what you're going to do, and the choice lies in their hands. I trust this team, and I trust this team in what they say and what they do, and where their mind is. And I think their mind is made up for. We're going in to win. We don't want anything less. And that's all we think about is winning. We don't think about losing. We don't think about those options. It's not an option for this group and for this coaching staff.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Taylor.
Your next question comes from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinoisans.
Hey, Coach, what do you like the most about your defense right now, and how confident are you relying on that in this tournament?
Well, I think when it gets to games like this, and you've been watching championship games, you're not looking at high-scoring games except for maybe UConn in a championship game, and it comes down to defense and rebounding, and so we rely on our defense a lot. And that's the great thing is that our system has been built on that for 7 years, and if I'm fortunate enough to have a fantastic scorer and shooter and, those type of things, then, that's great. That just adds to it. But I believe, at this point in time, everybody knows what you're going to do. Everybody knows everybody's personnel, and, the way things are with computer-generated information is black and white of where shots are coming from, percentages of them in a transition phase or versus, zone versus man. Everything is broken down for you. So it's really just being able to guard and stay in the stance, which takes discipline. It really does. And so we just really depend on, the discipline that we have in our defense. And I think our defense is great at this point. When we go in and we do things, in practice, we can hit them quick because my kids play so hard. It's to a point that I'm just like, okay, let's move along, and change the drill because they put it all out there. I don't have to light dynamite. And but again, the environment is set that way. It's been set that way, and these kids play really hard for me. So I'm really blessed to be a head coach that has kids that play extremely hard for them. But I love where our defense is. We've been able just to add on to the different defensive packages that everybody, faces. And so and that's good for us, to be at this point. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome.
Jody, I think that's all the questions for you. Thanks for your time. Safe travels, and see you in a few days.
Okay, sounds great. Have a good
Thanks.
day.
Next on the line, we should have head coach Otis S. of Evansville. Otis, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Callie. How are you?
Doing well. Talk about your preparation for Illinois State. It's a team you've had some success against this year. How's practice been going so far this week?
Honestly, I don't feel like we're at a point where we can focus on our opponent. We've spent this entire week just trying to get us right. We're not playing the way that I feel we should be playing. We're lacking a lot of consistency on both sides of the ball, and rebounding has really been an issue for us. And so we're just trying to fix us. I don't believe that we can worry about our opponent at this point. We've got to really get back to doing things the way that we need to do them to be able to compete against anybody.
Thanks, Otis. This time, I'll open it up for questions for you.
Please press star, then the number 1 to ask a question. Your first question is from Jill Hutchinson with the Valley TV.
Hi, Otis.
Hi, Jill.
It seems like your team's been able to put up quite a few points, but you're giving up a lot. Talk about your defense a little bit.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure that out. Either we're scoring and we're not defending, or we're defending and we're not scoring. So it's just been a terrible combination. But, we're really just trying to create some offense from our defense. The thing I've been trying to preach to our kids is that it's an attitude. Jody just kind of talked about that with her team. They're really fun to watch in terms of their effort and the attitude that they have defensively, and it doesn't take talent to defend and rebound, and just trying to get that across to our kids. That effort to defend and always want to defend has to be there. And then, offensively, if we can play together, if we can screen well, we can be proactive in terms of hunting our shot, and we can find some success on that side of the ball. But defensively, it's just been a lack of effort and attitude towards playing defense.
Gotcha. So, as you focus on your team this week, what are your 2 biggest points of emphasis? What are your 2 keys this week?
Well, we want to create some tempo from our defense, and so we're going to get up and extend our defense. We're going to press. We're going to trap. And usually when we're effective at that, our offense plays well as also. And then rebounding. You might not know it by our stats, but we've put so much emphasis on rebounding. We have to continue to do that because that's an area where we are really lacking. That's an area where teams have really gotten back in the games and won games against us. So we've got to do whatever it takes to keep our opponents off the backboards.
Great. Thanks, Otis. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Jill. We'll need it.
Otis, it looks like that's all the questions for you. Safe travels and see you in a couple days.
All right, Briscoe. Take care.
Thanks. Our next coach on the line should be head coach Barb Smith of Illinois State. Barb, good afternoon. How's it going?
It's going great. Hope everybody's enjoying a lot warmer weather. I know we are here in Bloomington.
Oh, most definitely, and it looks like it's going to continue for the rest of the weekend, so we might be in good shape there.
I know. I'm going to pull out the sunscreen.
Coach, talk about, you guys got a win last week at Southern Illinois. Kind of talk about, do you use that as momentum, or is it kind of like move on to the next one? How are you approaching your game on Thursday with Evansville?
Well, obviously, when you're in our situation, any win is a good win, and it brings some confidence. And I think from our coach's perspective, that was probably the most we've played together for the longest minutes at both ends of the floor for the entire season. So for us, it's definitely a big step in the right direction.
Thanks, Coach. At this time, I'll open up for questions for you.
Please press star then the number 1 to ask a question. Your first question comes from Jill Hutchinson with Valley TV.
Hey, Barb.
Hi, Jill.
I've been particularly impressed with your assists over the last couple weekends, and it sounds like your team is becoming a little bit more unselfish or more into running your offense, or to what do you attribute that? It certainly has helped your offense.
Well, we have been. It's really odd to have to say this, but we have been working on playing as a team all year, and in spots in certain games it would show up, but we wouldn't be able to sustain that for a full game. And this last game, as I said, we played so well together at both ends, and one of those aspects is the sharing of the basketball. And we've done so much better at that, and I credit our team for getting to this point, because we've been talking about it a lot, and they feel it. It feels different when you share the ball. It feels different when you play as a team. It feels different when you don't have to rely on certain people to do all the scoring or all the defending, and we just play together, and that's kind of where we're at right now. And I'm excited to be able to go into postseason here, into the conference tournament with, in my opinion, records don't mean anything, rankings don't mean anything, and it's another new season. So I'm interested to see if we can bottle that stuff up and bring it in there and be able to get that same feeling.
Great. And, excuse me, given that, what would you consider your 2 points of focus this week going into the tournament?
Well, I wish I could say we only had 2, Jill, to be honest with you, but our consistency in everything is number 1. And when I say that, I mean our teamwork. Obviously, we have to be able to replicate that again. And then our defense, our rebounding, and our scoring, which I know are major facets of a basketball game, but all those things we need consistency in, and it starts with teamwork.
Great. Good luck this weekend, Barb.
Thank you.
Barb, I think that's all the questions. Thanks for taking time. Don't forget that sunscreen, and see you in a few days.
Will do, Kelly. Take care.
Thanks. Our next coach on the line should be head coach Joey Wells of Indiana State. Joey, good afternoon. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How's everybody doing now?
Doing well. Joey, talk about your transition last year as an assistant, obviously, into the head coaching job this year. I'm looking at a list of first-year coaches in the Valley over time, and you're pretty high up on that list as far as wins go. What do you think has made that transition so easy so far?
Well, I think one of the first things that made it easy was what Coach Moore allowed me to do as an assistant. And then the second thing, I think, is just our players. You know, we have a great group of young ladies with 7 seniors that they had some things they wanted to get accomplished this year, and so I just needed to kind of point them in the right direction, and they really bought into some stuff. We've had our downs, you know, kind of our valleys here throughout the conference play, but we've kept good attitudes and they've kept good work ethic, and I'm hoping that's going to continue to maybe get us back on track and help us out this coming weekend.
Thanks, Joey. At this time, I'll open it up for questions for you.
Please press star and the number 1 to ask your question. Your first question comes from Jill Hutchinson with the Valley TV.
Joey, you kind of alluded to the fact that you're a little off track. It seemed like you guys started like gangbusters, but you've lost 5 of the last 6.
Yep.
To what do you attribute that problem?
To be honest, I think it's a combination of a little bit of timing. You know, I think all conference is a really good conference, and from top to bottom. I know there's some records out there that people, coaches aren't happy with, but I still think the talent that some of these teams have in our conference, that you can catch teams that are playing well at times, and I think we've played decent games. We've played well, but not well enough to win against some of the games that we've played. And that just goes to show that the depth of our conference and how good our conference is. But to get more about our team, it's our post-play. Our post-present went from being really good in non-conference, and okay in the beginning of our conference to non-existent. We've looking at some of the stat stuff, we've dropped off 20% in terms of our shooting percentage and close to about 7.5 points and 5.5 rebounds a game just in our post position itself.
Okay, thanks. Okay, then given that, what is your focus going into this tournament, your 2 keys?
Our first key is defensively. I think we've kind of went away from what made us successful early on, and that's 5 people guarding the basketball, and not worrying so much about my man and if my man scores or where my man is. It's, they can't do anything without that basketball in their hands. So I think defensively we've gotten a little lackadaisical, in terms of our weak side and off-ball defense. So that's our first key. And then second is our post presence. We have to be able to get some buckets out of our post. And some of that is our post play, and some of that is our guard play. We have to make sure that we give our post players the ball and positions to be successful, and not just give it
Sure.
set for us.
Great answer. Good. Thanks, Joey. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Joey, I think that's all the questions. Thanks for taking time, and see you in a few days.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks. Our next coach should be head coach Tanya Warren of Northern Iowa. Tanya, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, Kelly. How are you?
I'm doing well.
It's warm here.
I know. It's awesome.
It's great.
Tanya, talk about your team and three-pointers. Do you kind of feel like, is that your kind of coaching style, or is it more the personnel of the team, or what? You guys are shooting threes at a phenomenal rate. Just kind of interested in how that works.
Well, obviously, with us losing Jen, and the presence that Jen brought to us inside, we lost that. And with losing that, we shot a lot of threes anyway. Well, we was also able to score inside. So with losing her, we've really relied a lot on the three, and it's become a lot of our MO this year in terms of what we do offensively.
Thanks, Tanya. At this time, I'll open it up for questions for you.
Your first question comes from Andrew Lowe with the Des Moines Register.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi. I wanted to ask you, there's so many good young players, freshmen, sophomore, and all, in the Valley this year, and you've got a couple. How does that change your tournament? Maybe the mood, enthusiasm, or whatever, but how do you see so many young players impacting the event this weekend?
First of all, it is great for our league. Our league is a very good league, and it's going to be tremendous next season. But I've said all along, anybody can beat anybody on any given day. And when you look at what has taken place the last couple of weeks, and I agree with Joey, I think you have to throw out the records. And what you've seen is our bottom teams have gotten a lot better and are playing a lot better. So going into the tournament with such young talent and teams playing extremely well, it really is, on a neutral floor, anybody's tournament.
How do you balance it from a coaching standpoint of you want to let them have fun, but also the significance, or hey, this is an opportunity to make some noise and march. How do you balance that with younger players?
Well, I think you stay true to what you've done all season long in terms of understanding it literally is one game at a time, and in order to play, to put the uniforms on again, you have to win. So it's literally win in advance without being able to put pressure on them as well. So we really try to just do what we've done all year long, and in terms of just talking one game at a time, win the first 4 minutes, and win the possession in terms of looking at the big picture, as opposed to looking at the big picture.
Well, thank you, Coach.
You bet.
Your next question comes from Jill Hutchinson with the Valley TV.
Tanya.
Jill, this is golf weather, Jill.
Trust me, I know. Okay, a couple thoughts here. You don't have that same inside presence without Keitel, and you're going against Southern. You've had two tough games with them.
Right.
They have that presence. Do you have any concerns with that now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things, obviously, what we have to be able to do defensively is we have to be able to protect the paint, and we have to be able to finish defensive possessions by rebounding. So we have to finish those plays. And then offensively, we are going to have to come up with some action where we're going to try to put Pierre in some positions where she's going to have to defend Alyssa in the paint and see if we can't go at her a little bit. But we're going to have to be able to score in the paint and get to the free throw line and not just rely on the three against them. There's no question about that.
Great. Good luck this weekend, Tanya.
Appreciate it, Jill.
Your next question comes from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinoisans.
Hey, Coach, my question was kind of the same thing, but both games were very close. Is that what kind of feel is going to be the difference, that you can get to the free throw line and limit, Pierre's and points and rebounds, basically?
Well, not only Pierre. That is a very good team. That team is very good, both from the guard point and the post at the 4 and the 5. And they literally have 5 kids on the floor that can score pretty much all the time. So we're going to have to make sure we're locked into scatter report details. And then from the defensive standpoint, what it is we want to do with their different actions. And then again, we have to limit their second chance points. And then offensively, we have to be able to score in the paint. We have to be able to get to the free throw line and not just rely on the three.
And Ariel, tell us, Jen Keitel, is she ahead of schedule as far as for next season, or how?
She is doing great. But actually, both her and Hannah Schoenhardt are doing great, and both are on schedule. And we're extremely excited for the opportunity to have both of those kids back. But both are doing very well, and both are right on schedule. Thanks.
Tanya, I think that's all the questions for you today. Safe travels, and see you in a few days.
All right, Kelly. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, too. All right, our final caller should be head coach Cindy Stein of Southern Illinois. Cindy, welcome to the line. How's it going?
Good, Kelly. How are you?
Doing good. First of all, congratulations on your regular season so far. Largest turnaround in school history. What do you think has been the biggest difference, other than obviously you have some players back from injury that weren't there last year, but what else has been such an important factor in your turnaround so far?
Well, I would just tell you that I think it's the work ethic. I never thought we had a really strong work ethic last year, so on a consistent basis. And this team came back as soon as the season was over last year. They hit the weight room hard. They worked on their conditioning level. They got into the gym, spent a lot of extra time, and they made themselves better players in the off season. And then obviously applying that work ethic, that increased work ethic, to everything that they did this year. It's the players. I mean, they're the ones that bought in and put the hard work in.
Thanks, Cindy. At this time, I'll open it up for questions from the media.
If you have a question, please press star and the number 1. Your first question comes from Jill Hutchinson with the Valley TV.
Hi, Cindy. Dang, you're going to be famous for best turnaround in the nation at this rate.
Well, we just want to keep playing. So, that's our focus. We had mentioned some of the things that we could accomplish this year, but we're really focused on just, focus on one game at a time and just trying to keep playing.
Yeah. Okay, my question is, your kids have not been overly, especially this group, has not been overly successful in conference tournaments. What's their confidence level going into the tournament right now?
Well, obviously we played really flat on Saturday, but I'll take the blame for that. We were without Pierre, and I probably did not do a good job of preparing our kids, putting them in the best position to be successful. We had to change some roles for that game, so I think that we have rebounded from that. I feel like our work ethic this week's been really good, and they're very focused, and we pretty much focus on us. So I know that they want to get better. Their desire is really good. Just as you mentioned, we haven't been real successful in this tournament, but this team, we've always focused on what we can control and what we need to do to win games. And if we can stay to that pattern, I think we'll be okay.
Good. And you guys have had a couple of really good games against UNI, close games, and you split. What are your keys to this game?
Well, I think the biggest thing with playing Northern Iowa is the fact that, they're always a hard matchup for us. So I always say Tanya's teams, I feel like they're one of the hardest working teams you'll ever face. I mean, they never give up. They're extremely scrappy. They can score like crazy. I mean, they shot 43s against Loyola or Bradley the other day, and we couldn't put up 43s if we closed the gym for the night. So it's one of those things where we've got to be, our energy level's got to be really high, but we've got to play disciplined. And when we play with a high energy and play disciplined, we're usually a lot tougher.
Great. Thanks, Cindy. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Illinoisan.
Hey, Coach, you didn't shoot as well from the three-point line against Illinois State, but you said that was kind of a game you didn't play as well as you would hope. But are you still pretty confident in those abilities from the perimeter?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that happens. I mean, we shot really well in warm-up. We shot well at shoot-around. I mean, so it's one of those things that happen, and that's where we talk about, I don't like concentrating on offense a whole lot. I want us to get out and defend people, and I was real disappointed more in our defense. So we'll focus a lot more in that area.
And what's the hardest part about defending Madison Weekly?
Well, because she can do everything. I mean, a really smart player that has, all their guards. I mean, they all have extremely good court savvy. The little hesitation dribbles. If you don't take the angles away, they're going to continue on to the basket. They draw fouls well. We've really got to have really good disciplined defense and take angles away from them because they can score at any spot.
Thanks.
Cindy, I think that's all the questions for you. Thanks for joining us, and see you in a few days.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. This concludes our Missouri Valley Conference Women's Basketball pre-tournament call. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hope to see you in St. Charles. If not, all 9 games are available on ESPN3. You can also follow along on NBCSports.com. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, basketball fans. The Missouri Valley Tournament in St. Charles, Missouri is coming soon. Make your team the home team at the MVC Tournament and get great seats for as little as $12 a session. Just $12. Don't miss the 2015 Missouri Valley Conference Women's Basketball Tournament, March 12th through 15th at Family Arena. Get your tickets and get to St. Charles now.